Welcome to Real Kyper and Bourne with neither Real Kyper or Bourne. I'm Sam McKee. My good friend Justin Bourne has been Toronto trafficked. I am filling in for Kyper today, who is in parts unknown. And yeah, I'm just sitting here alone on television. Just feeling a little bit like that scene in Wayne's World. Is it Dana Carvey when he's like looking into the camera and he's like freaking out? That's kind of how I'm feeling. And as my great friend Justin walks into the studio looking strapping, Justin, I was just telling everybody that I was feeling a little bit like Dana Carvey in Wayne's World, where the camera's on. And welcome to the show, Justin Bourne, who I said got Toronto trafficked. It's a very easy city to get around these days.
Yes.
And welcome. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fully prepared to talk about the hockey match last night. I was not fully prepared for the traffic. It is baffling.
There we go.
Like, no one wants to hear about it.
Let's have it. I want to hear about it.
You just can't get anywhere.
No, like I actually was invited by a friend of mine. They're like, hey, do you want to go to meet up for drinks later at Queen and Broadview?
Yeah.
And I live at Jane and Bloor, and I just literally was like, no. The thought of that, to me,
the helicopter.
It's the most debilitating thought in the world. So, anyways.
2 cities, west and east now.
Yeah. So,
anyway, I made it.
You made it. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well.
I think we have Luke. Luke has arrived as well. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got the whole thing. The whole team's here. So.
Happy to be here.
Hey.
There he is.
What's up, buddy? How are you? What's going on? How's scenic Edmonton this time of year?
Well, the best thing about covering the Stanley Cup is seeing hockey at the most elite level. The second best is being away from Toronto traffic. That's
a great point.
Well, that's great. How? First off, love your Norm Macdonald T-shirt. An absolute hero of mine.
Yeah, thanks.
That guy's the best.
Casual Friday.
Yeah, Casual Friday. So I guess, do you want to start with just a little pullback vibe? What was your takeaway from Game 3? Did it play out kind of how you thought it might?
No, it didn't. I thought the Oilers would have more jump from the beginning. I thought the crowd was absolutely phenomenal. And speaking of traffic, I'm staying a little ways away from downtown. And the Uber driver was like, buddy, you just got to get out and walk from here. And we were like 5 blocks away because downtown was just choked.
Yeah.
Everyone walking around had an Oilers sweater. The scene outside was like Maple Leaf Square times 7, like just swarming with Oilers fans. The vibe was high. You know, it was a bit of an earlier start. So the sun was out for the first time in a few days, 6 p.m. local. And before the anthem even began, the Let's Go Oilers chants were just thunderous. And I thought maybe the Panthers got a little bit hasty by spending an extra day in Florida. Maybe they might be a little bit jet lagged. Maybe the Oilers, they should be more desperate. They should be like shot out of a cannon. And they weren't. It was kind of a patient game at the beginning. And then all Florida needs is for the other team to make mistakes. So in a 6-minute and 20-second span, the Oilers made 3 mistakes in the second period, and bam, that's the game. They took it over, and they crawled back a bit in the third, but there was never that sense they were going to crawl all the way back. Florida's just too good at preserving their leads.
So, as I wrote in my own lineup here, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Evan Bouchard have all combined for 0 goals in the Stanley Cup Final. It's probably a pretty good recipe to getting swept, is it not? Like, that's just, I mean, you can talk about all the stuff you want, or you can talk about their defensive play, you can talk about Bobrovsky, but the lack of production from the guys who carried them has just done them in here. That's a crazy thing to read.
Evan Rodriguez has as many points as the Oilers do goals in the whole series. Like,
that's not a recipe
like
for success.
They're getting trucked. And you know, both coaches are trying to spin it so they're not. You know, after the game, Chris Knobloch was saying it's not like they're the better team, and he even dropped an expected goals reference, and it's like, come on, like. Game 1,
guys, we cover the Leafs. Right? We've all heard that song and dance against Florida before.
Yeah.
They're in the games.
Yeah, but the series is playing out to Florida's identity, and it really reminds me of the Rangers series in a lot of ways. Yeah, the Rangers were in the games and they had chances, but you never felt like anything was beyond Florida's control. Their buy-in, like every team talks about, we play a team game, we play 5-man defense. But these guys actually do. And Matthew Tkachuk said it best one day when he said it's a really hard way to play, finishing every check, prioritizing defense, all those things, trying to win every single board battle. It's really hard to do, he said, but it's even harder to play against.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the Rangers found out. That's what the Lightning found out. That's what the Bruins found out. And now that's what the Oilers are finding out. And the frustration is starting to seep in, especially with those top guys. They're not used to being kept off the board.
No, Leon Draisaitl, DA was on yesterday. He said Draisaitl hasn't gone 3 straight games without a point since pre-pandemic, like 2020 or something like that.
Yeah, March of 2020.
Which is wild. So we were talking before Game 3 about how Barkov was in such a good spot because the expectations for him are just defend, right? Just be this guy. He's a shutdown McDavid, and everyone's going to call it a win. But he went out last night. I mean, everyone has called Barkov underrated for years. This feels like a coming out party where it's like, this is what it looks like. Because he was a force on offense too last night.
Phenomenal. And it's great. It's great to see him get the shine he's getting now. And it was almost like a running joke. Oh, who's the most underrated guy in hockey?
Like Pavel Datsyuk was for 10 years. And it was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But Sam Reinhart on media day was saying, everyone says that. He's like, but I see him every day. And he's like, it's still true. He's still underrated, even though he has 2 Selkies, even though people talk about him on shows like this. It's like when you see him go head to head against all these guys, like Pasternak wasn't effective, Kucherov wasn't effective, Panarin wasn't effective, and now McDavid and Draisaitl are seeing it. Plus, he's getting chances the other way. And it's just like, Evan Bouchard, you got to realize who's coming at you. Move that puck quicker.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, all it takes is one play. And then it goes the other way, and he's just so smart with it.
I can't imagine the sort of swing as an Oilers fan because you're watching Game 2, Draisaitl takes the shot, Barkov goes down, and there's like a little bit of a conversation like, is he okay? He comes in, Maurice is like, well, he came in okay today. And then he gets asked if he's playing. He's like, yes, sir, he's playing. And you're like, okay, well, it's not going to be 100% Barkov. No. It's not going to be the full Barkov experience. And then you get Barkov plus, where he makes an unbelievable play in the defensive zone to set up the 4-on-4, the first goal in the game. And then just that breakaway where he just comes in and just puts it in, blows it by Skinner. I've loved watching him play, and I think I was texting with Bunkus a little bit about this. He probably did this on his show today. I'm not sure, but is it a lock, Bobrovsky? Is there any conversation that you can have for Barkov being the Conn Smythe Trophy winner here? Because he's been unbelievable. It just have to be Bobrovsky.
No, it's a race. And I know that for a fact because after the game, I was having a beverage with some of the people who have a vote. I don't have a vote, but I was
with
a handful.
We got to get you on a vote. Come on.
Well,
see what we can do.
I think they don't want to give too many to Sportsnet people.
Oh, yeah.
Than me at Sportsnet. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. But I was talking with a handful of people who do have a vote, and it was a hot debate. Basically, it's a 2-horse race. Like Bobrovsky's numbers have been off the charts, and he seems to be getting better and better as the series goes on. But there is a case for Barkov. Like, I think, say they win Game 4, Game 5, and it's a 5-4 game, and Barkov has 3 points. That's different than if Bob pitches another shutout.
Yeah.
So I think there is a debate to be had there. And I think he's not going to win it. But I think if I had a ballot right now in the 3rd spot, I'd put Gustav Forsling. He's been unreal.
Yeah.
And
and Maurice had huge praise for him, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, these guys are legit. My take would be that it's Bob right now, and it sounds like probably yours, too. But you can see a world where, it's not over yet in that regard. The one thing that stood out to me about this series, and I wrote about it last night, is playoffs tests your roster for cracks, and it's pressure over 2 months. And if you have cracks anywhere, they will show up, and you can win with some exposed cracks. But in this series, Florida, you can't find any obvious cracks. Last night, Broberg jams one up the wall to Holloway, who can't get it out, and then Bennett scores. And then, the Tarasenko goal, Holloway isn't erring on the defensive side of things. He's not. These guys that were in the American Hockey League not that long ago had moments where it gave Florida an advantage. And it just feels like the difference in the two rosters is Florida doesn't have these cracks and Edmonton still has some.
Yeah, I'd agree with that wholly, Justin. Another crack is the goaltender, right?
Right.
Like Stuart Skinner goes behind the net to play a puck, doesn't play it right. Bobrovsky's been amazing at playing the puck
Mhm.
in these playoffs. Like he's phenomenal. Sometimes he's like an extra defenseman out there. So, you don't address your goaltending and give at the deadline. That might be a crack. There's some injuries. Like health is a factor here. I don't think we should understate that. It's almost the reverse of last year when Florida was going up against Vegas. And after Vegas won the cup, Jonathan Marchessault says, we're so healthy we could play round 5. And Florida has to send 2 guys for off-season shoulder surgery immediately after that
Yeah.
game. And Matt Tkachuk, their best forward offensively, has a cracked sternum and can't even put a sweater over his head. So there's elements of that too. And I just think Florida's deeper. And if Edmonton were to have a chance in this series, they need all hands on deck. Evander Kane can't play. Darnell Nurse is barely playing. And they're just not deep enough to survive those kinds of injuries. And you factor in the defensive job Florida's doing on the Stars, and it's just not happening for them.
The Kachuk one is an interesting conversation because he really is a guy, if you zoomed out and were kind of a casual fan of the Florida Panthers, you would say that he is like one of their key guys.
Yeah.
But to me, we've been talking about this a lot. His role in this series has been way down there. Like,
Yeah, this is an discussed thing in this series.
I mean, his ice times versus Edmonton, he played 13:57 in the first game, 18:23 in game 2, and then he had 17 last night. In the last game against the Rangers, he played 15:24. It's just his role has seemed so much, and it's almost like, I don't know, he just takes a lot of the oxygen and then the other guys kind of do what they need to do. But I'm surprised how little he's been involved outside of a couple scrums that you've noticed him. Like, they're beating them soundly without their supposed
He's got
best
5
player.
goals in 20 games.
He's barely contributing. It's crazy how much it's kind of his roles switched in this playoff run.
No, you're exactly right. And it is interesting. And what's fascinating is how they, Kachuk says this, other guys say it. It really feels like they don't care who scores.
Yeah.
They don't care that it's Evan Rodriguez with 3 goals and Kachuk has barely made an imprint on the score sheet. And it's unbelievable how much it really is a buy-in. They really are prioritizing defense. I think they could, if they have the guys that could play a more run and gun style if they chose to. They just realized, and I think it was going to the final and losing last year, that they have to play this way. This is a winning recipe, and it's not that, spectacular in terms of running up the score. It's, hey, we're fine if we just win by 1 goal, and we're fine if that goal comes off the stick of Luosterainen or someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't care. I think Kachuk's been effective, but you're right. He hasn't been a star yet. And what's interesting is we're going to get a real peek behind Kachuk's final because he's got the Amazon crew following him throughout this whole thing. So we might kind of learn about how he's been feeling and what's been going on behind the scenes with him through this. I'm really curious when that drops in the fall.
I wouldn't want to be with those cameramans around Connor after going down 3-0.
God. No, I mean, it's incredible that these guys are the prime hockey team is with these guys because you're going to get both sides of these stories, including Nylander from the opening round and some good stories to be told out of this postseason yet. I'll take you to the Edmonton side of things and just, is it over? Is there a way, can they make changes to find a way past Florida? What is sort of the roadmap to getting back in this series?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to envision the Florida Panthers losing 4 in a row the way they're playing.
It is.
So I do think it's over. That doesn't mean we're guaranteed a sweep. I think this team will go down with a fight. I guess if you're Edmonton, you're clinging to the third period. We scored some goals. We beat Bobrovsky. We made a push. We didn't just roll over. The second thing is you still have a home game. Use that energy. And then there's also, I think, a freedom of we literally have nothing to lose now. There's no other game on the schedule after Saturday. So if we get hurt, if you don't want to feel like it's over and I left something on the table. So you can go all out. You can go out with some pride. Because there is some embarrassment in getting swept, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there should also be some freedom on Knobloch's part. Does he throw a guy like Henrique into the top 6? Because he was a pretty noticeable guy last night. And they've been really scrounging to find a guy to play on the wing in the top 6. So they tried Vander Kane. He's too hobbled to even sit down on the bench. Then they tried Corey Perry last night. He was in the top 6, and he was a healthy scratch the game before. So they're getting kind of desperate. So maybe there's a freedom from the coach, too, to just try some things, because you have nothing to lose. If you lose the next game, it's over.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sammy.
I was just going to say, like, this is a fascinating sort of legacy forward-looking talk for McDavid, because this is kind of the year where where he's been knocking at the door. Once you punch through when you're a McDavid sort of type player, once you get to the final, it's usually, I guess Sid went through it where he lost the first year, got back the next year, but it's a little later in McDavid's career. It's a fascinating one for me looking forward for him, because this is a big hill to climb for them, and to get this far, and then just to have it be this sort of comprehensive for the other team.
It makes you feel like why they'll get a pushback. There's no way they just go out.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. It's a tough one for me, but I can't imagine what McDavid's thinking right now, especially after, saying Stanley Cup or bust at the start of the year, them actually making it, the stuff he said after game 2 about how we'll see how he respond and having it go this way. It's going to be a very interesting, sort of offseason to see how he responds to this, because this has got to be brutal for him. This is a legacy sort of series, and it's gone really badly for him.
Yeah, it has. What I would say is, like, sweeps are extremely rare. The last one we saw was Detroit over Washington in '98. So any team that's good enough. Yeah.
Wow, that is crazy.
In the final.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So any team that's good enough to get this point, has some sort of pushback. So I would expect McDavid to have a good game Saturday. As for his legacy, I mean, maybe you take some lessons from the Panthers and say, hey, the Panthers made it to the final. They learned a few things. Their GM learned a few things. Hey, I'm going to go out and find 2 more NHL level defensemen. Mm-hmm. I'm going to find a penalty killing center. He just made some tweaks around the edges. So I wonder if the Oilers say, hey, we can't go in with a Skinner-Pickard tandem and hope to win a cup. Maybe we bulk up there. Maybe we find another defenseman so that we're not, leaning on Cody Ceci with a title on the line. Yeah. Like, there's small tweaks they can make. They still got Leon and Connor and Hyman and the core guys, and Bouchard's coming into his own. Like, there's the core of a good team still there. So maybe this just gives them the extra incentive the way it did Florida last year.
It is funny as we head towards free agency and the draft where trades are made, that reclamation projects can change the course of your franchise. Gustav Forsling was a guy who I think any team in the league could have had a few years ago. Look what he's done. Brandon Montour was kind of down and he's back up. Ekman Larsson was bought out. There are a number of guys here where, God, you feel like it's over for him. And then Hage's another guy. Rodriguez.
Even Reinhart was like, he was a high pick, and it was kind of a slow start for him in Buffalo, and then he ends up going there. Like all these guys, but they're high pedigree guys, right?
They are.
Look at all the Sabres on this roster.
Yeah, I know.
All the Sabres.
Kyle Okposo is about to win a Stanley Cup.
Okposo.
Closest they'll ever get.
Was a Sabre. It's like Okposo had a great line today at the media veil. He's like, there are so many, this is the term they use. There are so many dogs that don't make the playoffs, but if they got into the playoffs, you'd see that they can make an impact.
That's interesting.
And he's one of those guys himself. He's playing a very minimal role, but he's bought into that. But for Hagee as a gamer, he's fun to watch, and he shows up a lot in tight games, overtime games. Reinhart all of a sudden exploded. Bill Zito needs a ton of credit for taking these castaways. So many of the important guys, Kachuk too, are on their second team, whether they were a high pick or not. And he's kind of found these guys and given them a second life, and they're having their best years in Florida.
I think the name for Edmonton that is surprising me, you talked about Connor, just that Draisaitl hasn't had a point yet. Throughout this playoff, he looked unmanageable, like for teams. And even when he's been injured, 2 years ago in Calgary, he has a series of a lifetime with an injury. He's good in this postseason with an injury. It's not like they're physical on him in a way that we haven't seen, right? Like it just seems to be a team defense from Florida that there's just nowhere to go, combined with Bobrovsky making a few extra saves. But boy, when you get frustrated guys like Leon, it's tough to figure out why it's so different for him in this series.
He's got to be a bit banged up, right?
Curious to see what injuries are on the Edmonton side.
Yeah, there's suspicion that he's banged up.
there?
That's one.
Yeah.
Number two is I think Florida just plays better team defense.
Yeah.
I think they have an excellent goalie, and I think they're well coached. Like we were watching from up high last night, and the amount of times Florida was almost knew what Edmonton was going to do with the puck before Edmonton did it. It was really mind blowing. They really have a good read on what the Oilers are going to do. I think they've done excellent work behind the scenes in terms of their video work and teaching the guys the habits the Oilers have. Even the power play, McDavid was saying, it's not about our structure. We have to almost forget about our structure and play road hockey.
Relax.
We almost have to like freestyle it and be impromptu, because if we stick to our plan, they know our plan.
Yeah.
It's really kind of a fascinating, battle of the wits as well.
You're out there amongst the gathered media. Any Leafs conversations going on out there? Anybody? Any rumors flying about? Any conversation?
Marner
any
getting
takes?
traded at the draft.
Yeah,
Kipper's not here. You can say whatever you want.
Now's your chance.
There's conversations. There was one funny instance a couple nights ago where, we're in game 2 of this in Florida. We're game 2, big win. One team's 2 wins away from the cup. And there was like a 30-minute debate on Mitch Marner. And it's like, what are we doing
baby.
here?
Let's go.
The Leafs haven't played in months, and we're dealing with 2 teams, battling for the ultimate trophy, and we're talking about Mitch Marner. So, there's definitely conversations. I got nothing for you. I really just think it's up to him. Behind the scenes, are they open to moving him? For sure. But the player holds all the cards, and what I would say is I don't think they want to take this and make it ugly. I think if they find a solution, they want to do it quietly. That's kind of the tree living way. He wants it to be amicable. Amicable. He wants to respect Mitch's wishes. So I think they're going to try and work with him. I don't think this gets nasty in the public.
I like that Shea Theodore talk.
Make that happen, will you?
I like that Shea Theodore talk. Anyways, all good.
All right, Luke. Well,
Thanks,
we appreciate your time today. Enjoy the rest of the series.
Okay.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Guys.
That's Luke Fox from Sportsnet.ca, intrepid reporter. Always ask the hard questions.
I got a couple thoughts for you. First on Bobrovsky.
Okay. Not about the Utah jerseys, is it?
Well, we can talk about that later. A couple of thoughts on Bobrovsky.
Okay.
Has there ever been I'm trying to think of this, but a contract that's been looked upon as legitimately the worst in the league? And there was conversations about because he signed it with Columbus, and the year after he signed that contract with in the first year in Florida, he played 50 games. He had a 323 goals against and a 900 save percentage in 50 games. His first year of a $100 million contract with them.
Yeah.
And then it's 906, it's 913, it's 901.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, 906, 901. He's had one, really good. I guess this year, and then the year before last, he was pretty good. But he obviously turns it on going into the playoffs. But I can't think of a guy whose contract
got validated
has
later.
done a 180.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually go that way. When they're starting to age and you've paid all that money, it doesn't really flip like that. But man,
text that in if you have any answers of a contract that initially looked terrible, sounded terrible, and all of a sudden you're like, God, they actually got value out of that.
Yeah, I mean that save he made on was it McLeod?
Yeah.
And the third
positional and reaction. Yeah,
the puck came under him.
Yeah,
and his legs are wide open.
Got back, got on the goal line, got where he had to be.
There's a lot of conversations to be had with you, but I'm feeling for the Oilers fans because you'd rather just lose that game 5-1, and you're
starting to believe there,
and you have sort of a seminal moment in a game that'll always leave you wondering what could have happened if that puck just goes over the line.
I thought of being McLeod on that bench because I've obviously never at that level, but had those moments where it's like, God, if that just goes. That changes things.
And it was so close, and there was so much net to shoot at. And of course, you probably watched the video of it, and it's like if I had to just elevated that,
his defense, in the middle, you just get that on the net as quick as you can. The goalie's twisting and turning.
Of course, you're just hammering that as fast as you can. But man, them coming back in that third period, they had a great push. They looked really good.
But you know what was the most Florida Panthers part of that game going in their favor is the puck goes in the corner with Ekblad with 45 seconds left and almost never came out. They just kept it on the wall. It wasn't Edmonton ripping it around the outside, peppering shots in. They're diving around. It was in Florida zone, but they just kept it on the paint.
So the play that happens, I bet there's just over a minute left. Barkov gets the puck, goes through the empty net,
Shoots it, yeah.
misses it. And, Simmer talks about it. It's like, yeah, they're a little bit more, they allow that a little bit more these days. Like, guys aren't as afraid to do that. And I was thinking to myself, if there's ever going to be a guy that you think maybe let have one of those, probably be Barkov, who's dominating on both ends for you. And then he wins the ensuing draw, gets the puck up the boards, wins a battle at the blue line, gets it out, and it goes down. There's 40 seconds left. It's a total rush. He is just a massive human. Yeah. And, I know it's probably going to be Bobrovsky because he's just been sort of the star the whole way through.
Over 20 playoff games, it's been him.
But, God, this has got to be, one of the feathers in the cap. I mean, I think of Bukala. Mm-hmm. I think of him and that brain trust in Florida that decided to pick him over. Everyone was like, Drouin, Seth Jones, you have to take these guys. And they took a chance on Barkov. Everybody thought it was a funny pick. And you might have one of the best players. Maybe he is the best player in the league. Honestly, at this point.
Yeah, we always do this whenever, it goes well for a guy who isn't McDavid, who's in that top class.
I'm in for the conversation because what are you trying to win? Mm-hmm. You're trying to win the Stanley Cup. He is the best player on the best team that's shutting down the best player in the world.
If you flip Barkov and McDavid and have Barkov try to take the Oilers to the final and McDavid try to take the Panthers where they're at, I don't think the Panthers are any different. The Panthers there might be bad. I mean, they're probably better.
With McDavid?
Yeah.
It's a fascinating one to me. But they probably wouldn't get to the final to face off against McDavid and the Panthers in this weird world that I've created in my brain. But I've loved watching him, and I'm just blown away by the guy.
I was thinking that the Panthers themselves are such a picture of a team because how many guys in the top 20 do they have? Barkov's in the top 20. Matthew Tkachuk had 88 points this year, I think, in 82 games, which, that's not top 20 numbers. I know his last two seasons were really good. This season, you always think these guys are better, and then you lay out all the guys in the league. You're like, all right, he's probably not top 20. So then
Barkov is definitely a top 10 guy.
Oh, yeah.
Top 5, it'd be tough.
Yes.
You think he's going to be in the top 5?
League-wide? Well, if you have him ahead of McDavid, you sure do.
Well, I know, but if you're pushing back against my point of it saying, is he the best player in the best team right now?
If we did a draft of players from the start, where does he go for next season? One season only.
Hell, if you include the contracts, or are you just doing, is this like a trade value list?
No, I think it's just no one has any contract at all. Next, you get 1 year out of the player. Next year, who do you want?
I think he's a top 5 pick, probably.
I think probably.
I really do. I've just been,
it's him, it's McKinnon. Barkov's ahead of Matthews.
So
after this playoffs.
Already a couple ideas about the contract that got better.
Mm-hmm.
There's one right in our backyard, Willie Nylander.
Did it look bad?
When he signed that contract, because he held out, and then he got, what was it, 6.9 or something, and then he was awful coming back, and then everyone was like, oh my God, that's too much money, and then it kind of improved, so it's a good one. And another one is a Blue Jays one, Yusei Kikuchi.
Oh, yeah. We were ready to DFA the fella.
And then the best thing that ever happened to him was the pitch clock, and he came in. He didn't have to think about anything, and away we went. Yeah. So that's great.
Those are good examples. Okay. Why don't we do game time before or after?
I'll take a break, and then we'll regroup and come back.
All right. We will be back with more Real Kyper and Sam McKee after the break. Welcome back to, and let me get this right, Real Bourne and McKee today. I think I said Real Kyper and McKee last time. You did say that. But I'm here as well.
Yes.
Happy to be here. This hour is brought to you by Bet365. And I believe, Sammy, you're going to tell us a little bit more about Bet365.
Yes, I am. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds to find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So I'm just looking at some future stuff for, as I pull it up here, the game, which is tomorrow night, right? Why am I not being able to play this up?
Yeah.
Anyways, Saturday night.
Quite likely.
The reason I'm looking at this is because Leon Draisaitl has to score a goal at some point.
He does.
Right?
I have bet on that back-to-back games.
I mean, he's not going to go this far without a goal. I really feel like he has to get one.
It's one of those things where if he doesn't score, it'll be such a phenomenal outlier for him that it's like, I'm okay being wrong betting that it's going to happen.
So 2 ways I would look at this is, their backs are against the wall. They got no tomorrow, all that stuff. Your best player, one of your best players scores the first goal of the game. Leon Draisaitl first goal of the game pays plus 650. Don't mind that. And I don't mind an anytime goal for him as well at plus 155. He's got to score eventually. He's really good. So there you go. Zach Hyman is the favorite to score a goal in that game at plus 120. So
Really?
he is.
It's a crazy situation they're in, given how much talent they have. But so I'm thinking to myself going into that game, okay, you need to get these guys going. You need to score goals. But like Draisaitl's with Ryan McLeod and Corey Perry, which I know has worked in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what we're talking about when I'm talking about with like cracks in the lineup, when there are flaws or whatever. That can't be the answer in the Cup final.
Yeah.
As much as McLeod has a bright future.
And we asked Luke. Well, I asked. You were not into this question. I asked about the Conn Smythe and how if it's a lock that Bobrovsky wins it over Barkov.
Yeah.
Sergei Bobrovsky right now is a minus 350 favorite to win it. Alexander Barkov is the second favorite at plus 300. The next favorite, I guess, is Connor McDavid at plus 1600. So
you could do worse on that Barkov bet. Let me get
like if he scores a hat trick in a ceiling game for them to sweep, I mean, you could do worse than that to me.
Tell me what Edmonton's odds are of winning the series. Can you arrange that?
Let me see if I can do that. Yes, I can. To win the series.
What happens is a Barkov injury or a Bobrovsky injury.
A Bobrovsky injury, I guess.
Yeah.
But they can't win one.
You're right.
It's over. But to tell you, the Edmonton Oilers are plus 1,100, so 11-1, which doesn't seem nearly good enough.
Wouldn't.
Florida Panthers are minus 2,200 if you want to get in on that action. So not a lot there for that. And so that's all I got here. If you wanted to bet on the Panthers to win, if you think the Oilers are going to get one, you can bet on the Panthers to win 4-1 at plus 210, Panthers to win 4-2 in the series at plus 700, or Panthers to win in 7 at plus 1,200. So a little bit of value there if you think the Oilers are going to come back in the series and make it a bit of a series here. So there you go. That was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds to find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
How's your golf pool going in the U.S. Open?
I didn't do it. I didn't place one bet. I didn't make one pool. I didn't do anything.
Oh wow.
No, I'm watching it. And I'm looking
just organic. Just
looking
au
at
naturel.
Looking at the leaderboard. I'm gonna tell you something, buddy. None of my guys I would have picked. They're near the top, so I avoided everything. I guess I would have picked Bryson, who's doing pretty well, but other than that, no dice. So, did you want to make fun of me for the Utah jersey take?
It's tough to make fun of. It's just, of all things to like outwardly seek on Twitter to promote, be like, I actually really like these jerseys. Like, what are you talking about?
So, I think that new teams, specifically the last however many expansion teams, have totally tried to reinvent the wheel.
Buddy, Vegas's are disgusting.
I hate the Kraken.
Krakens are beautiful.
They're awful. The logo's way too big.
Sweater.
It's like all this like weird, like the way they did the stripes. It's all like, everybody thinks you got to reinvent the wheel. Think of them all. The Wild, they've never been great.
Bad logo.
Bad logo.
Great colors.
Okay, they're
Good
okay
jersey.
colors. Nashville, Columbus. It's like all these guys. They're like, let's make it the ugliest we possibly can. And I just really respect a team that comes out with some nice colors. I think it's the black and that kind of baby blue. It's nice. And you just have the diagonal. Like, simple is okay. Boring is okay when it comes to a jersey. I really like them.
I don't think you're in marketing, if that's your take.
So what are they supposed to do? Get a big Yeti on there and like, let's have the arms be snowy. Like, no, that's stupid.
I don't want any of that either.
Yes, you do.
No, the Krakens are a really nice sweater. Nice colors.
I disagrry. I think
also they even picked one of the Kraken's colors.
No, it's not the same color. That's more of like
it's cyan versus teal. Okay.
What the hell is cyan?
It's a printer color.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Color.
I've never heard that in my
son
life.
references it
So
for some reason.
I really think that it's nice that a team doesn't go crazy.
Okay, well then let me say this. It's garbage they have to do it.
Why?
It's stupid. You got 3 months. Initially I tweeted last night that it's not, I don't blame Utah, but I blame the league for not saying, hey, get a team name, get a jersey, get a logo, let's get this thing going. Even if you have to unveil it in September or October or whatever, it's just, you don't need a year and a half to design a jersey, for crying out loud. The Zigzags did it in a weekend.
Well, yeah, that guy on Reddit did it in a weekend.
Yeah, well, there are plenty of guys on Reddit who are better than that guy on Reddit, I promise.
So here's the thing. It's a little bit like the PWHL, where everyone was like, hey, can we get some? But like, I didn't hate.
They don't have the manpower.
Diagonal lettering works. It hits. It's fine. It's traditional. It's
None of them look good.
Yes, they all look good. Every jersey that has diagonal lettering on it has always been good.
I look forward to seeing the beige walls in your home with
Rangers.
We think pictures
Pittsburgh.
clutter it up too much.
Pittsburgh.
All right.
Utah.
Thanks, Don Draper. I think we're done with your takes. All right.
So you want it to, like, you would be so appalled if they were just called the Utah Hockey Club, Utah HC?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You think it's ridiculous?
Yeah, it's trying to be something you're not. You're like, oh, European, we can catch up to those leagues. We'll be just like them. You're not them. You're the NHL.
So, I mean, the Washington professional football team, like I love that
trying to get
too.
rid of a racist name.
No, but I wish they just stayed as the football club.
You have clearly identified your takes on things. Enjoy your oatmeal for breakfast, and let's.
I'm actually not that basic. I really am not. You know, I've been told by many people I have a little flavor, and I like the basic jerseys. But God,
nothing wrong with being basic. We just don't need you designing things.
I didn't really realize what a controversial opinion that was until I put it out there on X. People were killing me for this.
It's not controversial. It's bad. That's all right.
Anyways, we're getting
Take me to the text.
We're getting lots of texts. I also put a bunch of tweets in here from I put out a tweet earlier, but I'll get to a text here
Text
first.
Us at 590 if you have something, and maybe we're done with the jersey thing.
So talk about flipping players, because earlier we talked about what the teams would look like if Barkov was on Edmonton and McDavid was on Florida. So, okay, talking flipping players here. Where would the series be if you flip the goalies? No disrespect to Skinner. Well, nameless texter from a own sound area code. Seems like you're kind of disrespecting Skinner. But
you know, my thoughts, and I put this in my article, which is up on sportsnet.ca, is that Skinner has not made any egregious errors. The puck handling one,
that was ugly last night.
Bit of a tough bouncer or whatever, but like there's no goal where you're like, that's a bad goal. But the point isn't to be okay. It's the cup final. Bobrovsky's making saves he's not supposed to make. You know, it's like getting to the PGA Tour where parring every hole is not good enough.
No.
You need to do better than par.
Well, par might be good this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend, sure.
Yeah.
So Skinner, to me, has been par. If the other guy's 10 under, it's you know, it makes a big difference.
And not to get too down the road of this weird conversation, but Skinner's probably better behind the defense that the Panthers play.
Yeah.
Like the Panthers have been playing unbelievable structured defense. And I know everybody's pointing to the shot totals in these games, but like how many
they're
grade
up 3 goals, so
how
they're letting
many
Edmonton have the puck.
grade A's are they getting? Like it feels like that one from McLeod was one of their only shots they had from the slot. Like they do such a good job of making it boring. They pack the paint. So I think Skinner on the Florida Panthers will be a little bit better because of the defensive structure. So
Yeah, and Bob would be a bit worse, but it still would help Edmonton if they could make that trade before Game 4.
Correct.
Yes.
So I got this tweet from at not Mikey Davis. So it's not Mikey Davis.
Thanks, Mike.
How sick is it that 2 teams from Florida are going to win the cup in Rogers Place before the Oilers do?
Oh, I don't know. Oh. Is that right? I guess
Well,
that's where
because
the
they won the
pandemic
bubble.
cup for Tampa Bay. That's tough bounce. That's a bit of a curse. Multiple teams winning
They
it.
need,
Yeah.
like the Oilers, I think you just need to win Game 4 and get it the hell out of there. Oh, I just thought, how sour is all that media going to be? Traveling
go
back
to Florida
to maybe potentially watch the
It's not even like in season where everyone's thrilled to go to Florida because it's
hot.
January.
It's
like
way nicer in Edmonton than it is in Florida right now, no question. You don't say that a lot, so
yeah,
man, that's brutal.
Stay tuned for the tweets at Air Canada or Delta or whoever for a lost bag. That's when you know people are really on tilt. They're like, I'm going to use my cachet to
I gotta
roast
ask,
an airline.
You ever done it?
No.
Nah, me
Made
neither.
a very conscious effort to never
Me
do
neither. I think it's one of the cringiest moves you can possibly do. Like the uploading on Instagram, being like, "My bag, blah blah." It's like, well, you're fine. You're sitting in a seat in the sky, pal. I don't have anything for you.
So Louis C.K. bit.
Yeah.
You're in a chair in the sky.
Exactly. So this is from at Platitude. We think of the elite being able to flip a switch and change a game. What's more likely? McDavid can't, or Barkov won't let him?
Well, McDavid can. I mean, he's not 2 years into his career. We've seen him
Yeah.
flip a switch many times and take over games and
But
even
not at
series.
this point. But not at this point of a not at this point of a playoff run.
No, I think the answer here is about Barkov and what he's done to keep those guys quiet when he's out there on the rink. And I think it was Kip the other day talking about how Florida players were saying when he's on the ice, everything falls into place. You can trust that he's going to be where he's supposed to be. And this to me is much more about Barkov. Going to be interesting to see what happens to his sort of legacy here. It does feel like he's gone from one of the league's very good players to he wins a cup here, in the running for Conn Smythe, future Hall of Fame guy.
One of Bill Simmons' favorite things that he does all the time is the belt for the guy who has the belt in the league, like the best player belt. And it's like, I feel there'll be a ton of takes, and I don't think I'll do it. Maybe I kind of did in the first one. I alluded to him being the best player, but like it feels like people will be making the case that he's the best player, that like he's going to get the belt because you pass it on. I guess no one on Vegas would have had it, but there's no one in Barkov's
no, but we
class.
were giving it like McKinnon. There was definitely people doing the is McKinnon better than McDavid thing.
For sure,
and,
no question.
And Makar even got some love in that topic.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let me see here. This is from Jim Keogan, 34. I'm begging you to please talk about how Draisaitl and Bouchard will be getting contracts up to $26 million AAV combined this summer. Kyprios loves stressing out Leaf fans every summer about contracts. Can you please pick on another market for once? Yes.
Draisaitl and Bouchard will be getting contracts up to $26 million AAV, according to Jim Keogan.
Well,
so
listen, Draisaitl's 14.
So that's, I mean, I guess. Well, Matthews just did 13.5.
Yeah.
It's tough to make the case that the difference would be Matthews is a better defensive player. He plays center.
Yeah, but, until this series, Draisaitl's been one of the prolific
He has been far
playoff
better in playoffs.
performance.
I don't think he'll pass Matthews.
No?
Well, I don't think so. If Kip were here, he'd be telling me.
Oh, he passed Matthews. No, I actually do think that he'll get more than Matthews. Especially if he's going to stay at, like, and I'm sorry to Edmonton. I don't mean to pile on here.
It's going to be in the ballpark then. Let's say it's 13.5 or 14.
Yeah.
Bouchard's not getting 12.
I mean, he might get 10.
Might get 10.
He might get 10. He's unbelievable, and he's been really good. And it's kind of, it's wavered here in the last couple of games, but he's playing so much. There's so much on his plate. Like, what's he playing a night?
Darnell making 9.5 makes that his absolute floor.
Oof.
God. So, like, let's say they're going to make 24 between them.
This is to me why it's so scary being an Oiler fan today, because this is such, like, it's easy to say, such an important year when you make it this far. But, like, all the contract stuff, like, this year is very doable. Yeah. But, like, the Draisaitl thing is coming up. And the Bouchard thing and that Brown contract that you stuck with. And he's been good for you in the playoffs. And if you won the cup, you could be like, well, he was great for us in the playoffs, and we can live with that. And he did the Perry thing. And like you said, the Nurse contract. Well, we won the cup, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
When you get swept in the finals, all those conversations go from down here all the way up to the top, and you start worrying about it again. Yeah. And I know you think I'm going to do the thing you want me to do. Like, I actually do feel bad for Oilers fans today.
Yeah.
And like, I'm feeling it. And like, there's been a ton of people that like are piling on, and all the Leaf fans being
but you've already got them losing. Like, not all Oilers fans do.
Oh, my God. You're dumb. Then it's over. It's over. There's nothing that's ever been more over. It's over. You have lost the Stanley Cup. I'm sorry. That sucks. But, Leaf fans being, and I'm sorry to do this to my Leaf fan brethren and sisters, but like, can't be doing like just the Oilers had a great run. They beat a couple really good teams. Maybe not the Kings, but they beat the Canucks, who played well. They beat a really good Dallas team, and now they're getting their filled by a really good hockey club. They've had a good run, and it's been great, but it's over now. Yeah. So, Leaf fans, don't pile on too much. I know it's fun, but don't pile on too much. Okay?
Yeah, it is. It does set the table for the offseason. One thing we learned, watching Toronto lose in the second round to Florida quite handily in 5 games, is that it almost invalidated the, getting through the first round thing. It really took away from their zest there. So, I'm hoping Edmonton wins a couple of games, gives them some juice. McDavid and Draisaitl, they're gamers, man. They're not going away.
This is from new...
You like the juice, huh?
This is from new star winger from the Zigzags and Sportsnet employee Michael Greco. Stars versus Panthers would have been a much better cup final. Yet again, we are reminded that goaltenders and defense win championships.
No chance, Greco. No chance. Love the guy, but Stars versus Panthers. I shouldn't say we couldn't have convinced people to watch that.
I think
The hockey may have been.
But I kind of agree with you. Would that have been more fun? Like they don't have their star power isn't as high as the Oilers, and it's like the Canadian market. I don't think it would have been a better fun.
No.
Like it's hard to really even think about it, but I think Florida would have beat them pretty handily
There's
as well.
moments where McDavid gets the puck and you get pulled out of your seat. He's starting to get some momentum going, like where you can see there's some threat to Florida. I got to tell you this. One thing I will give Corey Perry credit for, a guy who's been in the Stanley Cup Final with 5 different teams. He knew his role in that game last night. He fell on Bob 6 times. He's jawing to people from the bench. He's trying to disrupt the flow. This Florida team just has that confidence right now that no matter what happens, they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Maurice has really set the table for them with the tone he took. Remember the Boston series? I think Boston won a couple of games, and he was like, he was laughing about it in the press conference. Like, they just have such a confidence that.
Did you see because they always do like the give out the puck thing after the game, and they give it to the best player.
Yeah.
See what Kachuk did last night?
No.
He gave it to like their travel guy. And everyone goes nuts. It's like, God, they just get it.
Yeah.
Why do they just get it so hard? God, they just be tone deaf
in
one
Toronto.
time.
We had a show where it was like, can you believe Marner didn't give it to Jordan Bean?
I know.
Where it should have gone to the video coach.
It drives me crazy. Yeah. But it's funny.
All right, we got a couple left before we shut her down for the weekend.
What happened to Mackenzie Hughes this week?
What did happen to Mackenzie Hughes?
Oh, I think he made like a 10 on one hole. Yeah, he was going up and down. It did not look great. So it's a tough one. I was going to say that, where did I have this text here? For our Calgary fans who are listening, congratulations.
On this happening?
You survived.
Yeah.
You survived. Your friends down the road who, I'm sure you have family members who are Oiler fans. Nightmare. I'm sure you've had to listen to a lot of junk over the last little while.
And you know what else they're going through?
What?
They got no water. Calgary, they're like water main broke. The pipe that carries 60% of their water to Calgary. So these people are like without a hot shower for a week. Oh my God. Well, or at least rationing water.
I don't listen to the news. So that's tough.
Do you want to give a shout out to my friend Haley Adlard, who she got every single series prediction correct, which I have never heard of before.
Did she bet on it or anything?
She was in a pool for no money and went 100% in her pick. So next year, you can all look forward to her writing my articles for me.
That's what? No way.
Which is really fantastic.
Yeah, I can't imagine the relief for the Calgarians today.
Yes.
You say they have no water, but like that's a breath of fresh air. That's a rush of water.
Nothing tastes more delicious than Schadenfreude.
The fandom is a very important thing, and the Oilers have had a lot of success against Calgary. They put them out in the playoffs. Connor McDavid scored a series-winning goal in their run last year or 2 years ago, and you had to hear all about it.
You're right.
And now they just,
dodge another bullet here.
If they get swept, you can say, Oilers and Calgary won the same amount of playoff games. So there you go.
So Saturday night, you think Florida wins the Stanley Cup in Edmonton?
I do.
Who gets the cup after the captain?
That's a great question, Bourne. One I haven't even thought of. You could probably bet on that.
I gotta believe it's Kyle Okposo.
Really?
Yeah.
First?
Yeah. Sasha Barkov is the captain. It typically goes to the oldest guy, the longest tenured guy. The Sean McIndoe calls him I believe the old guy who hasn't won a cup. Whatever, the old graybeards. I think Okposo barely played playoff games. Was in Buffalo for so long. Long Island. I shouldn't say that. He played playoff games with Long Island, but I think it'd be him. Ekblad. Ekman Larson has been through it a bit.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time here. There's a lot of options. I think it's Ekblad because he's been a long tenured guy. To me, my pick is definitely Ekblad. They've been playing together forever.
Yeah.
But I'd see Okposo too.
See it?
God, what wonder who the least who Tavares passes it to. What a conversation that would be to have
someday.
One day. No, never.
Best of luck to Edmonton on Saturday night.
Yeah, you're going to need it.
You will see us back here on Monday covering Game 4. This has been Real Kyper and Bourne.